What is up, crypto ninjas? It is time for the weekly price update video. Before we get into it, just a reminder that I am not a financial advisor, so everything that we cover in this should be taken as educational purposes only and not financial advice. So, do your own research and all of that fun stuff. It's not been a good week, obviously. Well, the week was okay in parts of it, but it tanked near the end. So we'll start here with Bitcoin, as we're going to do every week. We'll start with the Big Daddy. And you can see the wedge. It broke below it here, what was it, on the 7th? So a few days ago, she broke below, she stayed below, and then it crept back up. I started getting more hope when it managed to make it back in there. It started to make itself a little breakaway there. Let's zoom in here. Let's zoom in a little bit. Zoom in on our wedge here. So it did try to get out, and then try to maintain it, and then now it's just dumping below. So it's bad news. It's bad news. It made it all the way down to, where was it, 34,600 at the lowest point today so far. So we're not in good shape. I would say that we're probably in for some more downward action before we start going back up. We're still in line for this death cross. We can take this line and we can just extend it out now this way. And we'll take this one and we'll extend it out this way. And you can see we're looking now at death cross around the 17th or 18th, like somewhere in this range is where the death cross is. So we pushed it out a little bit with some of the price action, but we haven't really stopped it. So how far is it going to fall? Well, let's zoom out and let's take a look at some more historical data. We put a line where we bounce in here. Let's go ahead and stick one of these guys up. You can see if we go back here, we're in the same kind of support lines that we were getting back in January before it started making the current bull rush that before the crash. So you can see we were getting supported at this line back then, and we're still getting supported at this line now. So if we can maintain this support line, if we can bounce off this and not fall below it, there's still some hope that the bulls can come back in. Still some hope because we haven't fallen behind that support line since January. If it falls below it, well, then it's anybody's guess. The next support line after that is here, right? Why is it not letting me? Oh, there. So we got a support line right around here down at $17,000. So we really don't want to see that fall, or I guess almost $18,000. We don't really want to see us break this support line at just under 31, because that could be bad news if we fall all the way down to 18K. It's going to be not good times for anybody. I don't think it's going to. I think that we're going to maintain support here at 31 for probably, I don't know, a while. I think we're going to see us bounce between there, and we'll call the upper bound here. We'll bounce back and forth. No, it's not quite high enough. A little bit higher, come on, move her up. We're gonna go here maybe. I think we're gonna see us bounce between, say, 41 and 31. This $10,000 range would be my guesses. We'll bounce around in here for a bit. We'll call it maybe even the whole summer of mostly sideways action. Now, we'll see some dips above, or some shoots above and some dips below, but I have a feeling that we're gonna see a lot of price action just kind of in this range where my wedge basically was. We're just gonna see sideways in this area. So I guess we'll have to see how things look as the week progresses and how my predictions come to pass. But that's gonna be it for Bitcoin, and let's move on to the next crypto on our list here. Before we get into the next crypto, I wanted to tell you that if you're not already trading, you can go ahead and set yourself up on Binance. I'm going to put a link in the description below. If you sign up using that, you're going to save on your trading fees, which of course is always good. Binance is one of the largest trading platforms out there. It's got huge liquidity as far as everything. It's got its own blockchains, its own cryptos and everything like that. You can trade spot market, futures. They've got mining pools. They've got staking pools. If it's involved with making money with crypto, then you can probably do it at Binance. So go ahead and check the link in the description, sign up, and save on your trading fees. We're going to take a look at good old Ethereum, who's also not looking so shit hot. obviously we've broken out of the wedge, and it hasn't really recovered at all. It's on a very clear downwards trajectory from this wedge. So it's spelling bad news. It's coming down towards its 200-day EMA. I don't want to see it cross that. If it does, that could be bad news. Looking historically, I mean, we should have had support right around this area. And we did. I mean, we came below it. And we wicked below it, but we didn't really drop below it. So we're getting supported right around this area, which was the April support line. So let's hope we don't drop below that. If we do, we plunge below the 200-day EMA. I mean, where's our next support line after that? Here, maybe, in this area? Might see us drop as low as like $1,400. So we could see another dump of $1,000 if it doesn't maintain its support line here at just under 21K. Again, I don't see the two big guys. I don't see Bitcoin or Ethereum really dumping and just going to nothing. I don't see that happening. I feel Ethereum is probably going to maintain its support here. And if we're going to look at it doing, it's bouncing back and forth the same way. We could see price action like, you know, between 29 and 21. But I don't know if Ethereum is necessarily going to do the full sideways. I think we might see it possibly dip down and trade below or right around this line for a while. I don't know why. I just feel it because of the way that it's just downtrending. It's not really recovering much at all. Like, it didn't even make up any ground. If we look on its up day here, it barely made any ground from where it closed. I mean, it closed back up just barely above where it lost from the day before, and then it just continued going down. So Ethereum, I feel, is going to be not as quick to maintain as Bitcoin. I feel it's going to bounce around on the lower end of its range a bit. And if it dips below its 200-day EMA, we could be in for some bad times. So we'll have to see how Ethereum plays out over the next little bit. But not so great here in the old crypto markets. So now let's move on to some of the lower cap, or I guess not necessarily lower cap, some of the altcoins. I mean, ADA's got a pretty good market cap. Again, broke below the wedge, and it's just coming down. I don't know where the bottom of this one's going to be, because, I mean, there's an apparent level of support right around here. If we look at where we bounced off these ones, and it does, I mean, it was in this area. It's in the middle of all these other ones, though. So, I mean, it's not the best line of support because it hasn't been well tested. I mean, it got tested here. It was above it here. And, I mean, we can consider this a little breakout and return, maybe a correction. So this could be a line of support for us here at $1.30. Which, I mean, is not great because our all-time high of, almost 250... The high on that one is 247, so just about 250, and we're going all the way down to $1.30. Not awesome, but I have a feeling we're gonna bounce off that. And actually, this one's probably I feel gonna do the bouncing back and forth because there's a lot of volatility with Cardano. There's a lot of news underway with them. They've got the smart contracts out on the Alonzo testnet and all that, so there's strong, good tokenomics in behind it. I think it's just currently suffering the effects of not being Bitcoin, where Bitcoin dominates the market and controls the price action of all the other cryptos. I feel that that's kind of what's affecting ADA's recovery right now after the crash. And I can see it kind of bouncing here between $1.84 and $1.30 here for, again, we'll call it the summer of sideways action. The bears are going to control this summer. I have a feeling. I don't see the bull run returning full swing until like end of summer, early fall. But again, we'll see how it all plays out. No one really knows for sure what's going on with the market. No one predicted this big crash that happened, and no one really knows what's going to happen. Everyone's been saying everything's going to recover within a couple weeks, and it hasn't happened. So let's be realistic and look at the actual figures and not put any feelings behind it. And we have the apparent level of support or resistance here and the apparent level of support here. So I feel a lot of sideways action in between these two lines for the next little bit. So let's move on to Polkadot. What is Polkadot doing? Polkadot is also crashing out hard. Obviously, it's a newer one. It's only really started climbing since the end of last year. So looking at historical data to try to figure out what's going on with it is a little bit harder. Let's see. We got down as far as this and got support. So let's draw a line here first. Put our initial support line here. And that seems to be right around this old resistance line. So, once we pass a resistance line, it becomes support. So this seems like it might be a good place to put this line. Now again, Polkadot doesn't have a lot of history behind it, so it's hard to throw a lot of weight into it. As you can see, we've only got a 200-day EMA that starts at the 5th of March. So it's not like we've got a whole lot of historical data going on here. So this one take with a lot of grain of salt on it, because it's harder to predict these things. And if we're going to put another line, let's call it here-ish, because that seems to be where we're getting our resistance. We got our resistance there. We got it again, retested it there. So this would seem to be a good place to draw our current resistance line, which was a support line previously. So it seems to be, it got retested there, it got tested there, and this is where we broke out through it. And I mean, it minorly retested it there, but it was mostly just retesting its EMA, or the 20 EMA at that point. So I wouldn't consider this a test of that support line. I would consider that more a test of the EMA line. This was definitely a support of that because it dropped on below it. Same with this one, it came down and it tested that support line. So I have a feeling this is going to be our new resistance line going forward. It's hard to say whether I think it's going to bounce back and forth between them, because there's, again, not a lot of historical data. Polkadot is doing a lot of good things, like their network is doing a lot of powerful, exciting new technologies. They've got all the side chains and everything all coming online. So, oops, I didn't want to move that line. Let's just Control Z that right back where it was. So I don't know, it's either going to bounce back and forth through this, or it might bounce in low. Again, I don't think it's going to bottom out. If it does break below this support line, then really the next support line would be all the way down at like $4, where it was trading at before the current pump started. So if it breaks below this support line, it's going to be bad news for Polkadot. Because there's no more support lines between that and what I would consider the bottom. I would consider this the bottom. Whatever line this is going to be, we're going to call you the bottom. So at $5, we can see we don't want that. We don't want to see Polkadot crashing, because it's becoming more and more one of the flagships of what people are looking at to see how the crypto markets are doing. So if it crashes out, then it's going to put a lot of fear into people's minds as they consider what they're going to invest in. So let's hope that it maintains support here at like 1750 and bounces. I would like to see it do the bounce back and forth, because that shows healthy trading action. If it just kind of bounces down around at the bottom end of it, it kind of shows that people aren't considering it as a valid contender anymore. That would show probably low volumes would be indicated there too, like we saw way back here. Not a lot of people trying to jump into the market. So if we see it trading along the bottom, I would expect to see a lot of low trading volumes with it as well. So Polkadot's rough shape, but we'll see how it goes. Let's jump into the old next one. Next up, we are going to look at Polygon. Again, this is another one that doesn't have a whole lot of good historical data. It's been on a pretty... I mean, it started climbing back in February, but I wouldn't really consider this a whole lot of climbing until the 26th of April, and then it really started shooting up. This is a big, exciting one, because I really think that Polygon is going to have a lot of growth in the future as it expands its offerings and its supported features and all of that. So it's hard to draw lines on this one. We don't have a lot of data. I mean, I could call this a support line maybe, because it got tested here, but it's really never been retested. There's no real lines that have been well tested. It's always been in a fluid motion around it ever since it started its growth. So this would be the closest thing at about $1.07. Would be the closest line I could even put on this map. Would be this one, and I don't even put a lot of faith into that. So it's really hard to say what's going to happen here with Polygon. It's anybody's guess. I would like to say that it's probably going to bounce, and I don't know. I can't even really put an upper bounds on it, because the upper bounds would be around its all-time high at 250. So I guess I'll draw a line at 250, but I really can't see it bouncing up and down that much. It would be more probably like in this area, in like the $2 range maybe. But I don't, maybe right here. I'm gonna put a line right here. It's not well tested. It's barely tested at all. I mean, it touched it. We'll call it a test, but this line is weak. If it breaks this line, I'm not going to consider this a fault of my analysis, because I'm unconfidently putting it on here. So we'll see. I don't know. We'll see what happens when it touches the $1.07. When it gets down to this line, that will be telling. Once it hits the $1.07 line, we'll kind of have a feel for what Polygon may or may not do in the end. So keep an eye on that, and hopefully we can see some good recovery coming from Polygon. All right, that's going to do it for this week's price action video. I hope you found it at least a little bit informative. If you did, go ahead and throw a like on the video. Make sure you're subscribed to my channel. I do one of these every Saturday, give a little insight on what happened in the week and what I think is going to happen when it goes forward. So make sure you're subscribed there. I've got links down below to all my socials, to my website where I post daily blogs and all kinds of fun stuff. So I'm all around the internet, so find me, check it out, and I'm going to get out of here, and I will see you next week.